People will still trickle in here, but we'll get going. Welcome, everyone. This is the second time we're doing one of these. We've got good feedback on the last one and wanted to host another webinar so that people who are thinking about making the switch to Commit or clubs that are already using Commit can ask questions. We can demo some of the new stuff that's inside of Commit and just get a good feel for the product. And you have a chance to kind of like I said, ask us questions. And if there's anything specific to your existing accounts, uh, we'll try to cover like general questions here, but you can always email team@commitswimming.com and our support team's awesome. And Jason and everyone will get you taken care of. As far as if you want more specific questions related to your club, if you're not a current Commit customer, you can always schedule a demo and Calvin will walk you through the whole product and answer everything that's on your mind. So with that, we will dive in and we'll do a brief overview of Commit. I'll highlight a couple of the newer features that we've pushed out in the last few months, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. We find that your questions usually are the most helpful for everybody. So as we go, just feel free to enter into the Q&A section your questions, and then Jason will help and we'll moderate and try to get some of those answered. Anything we don't answer on this webinar, we'll follow up with both the recording of the webinar and answers to your questions as best as we can. So,
yep.
I'm
And
gonna,
for
go
anyone
ahead,
that
Jason.
doesn't, sorry, I was just gonna say, for anyone that doesn't know where that section is, if you're looking kind of at like your toolbar on Zoom, you'll see there's a section for a Q&A. Use that, not the chat. The Q&A is where we'll specifically be addressing those questions. Either live while we're going through or at the end, we'll follow up.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? Okay, good. So for those of you who don't know, Commit started out as a workout management solution for coaches to allow them to log their workouts. Over the years, we've been around for 10 years, and teams all over the world, including a lot of high performance training centers, both in the US and internationally, use Commit to manage their team's training or their athletes' training. We've expanded now into full club team management, where you can do everything you need to do in order to run your team, including tracking volunteer hours, doing billing, managing your calendar, your roster, your messaging, communication center, all of that within Commit, layered on top of our really now at this point well-established training and workout logging platform. I'm not going to go through every feature that we have today in here, but I do want to share some of the newer updates. We've been pushing out a lot of new improvements in Commit, and we have a lot more planned for the rest of this year on our immediate roadmap. So on the training section itself, we have a new look and feel for the workouts, but the most important new features here, in my opinion, are the search. So you can search for things like anything that happened in your workout. Before, you could only search through workout names if you titled them. Now you can type things like I am order, and it will find workouts with that are I am order and kind of highlight that for you and sort it highest order to least. You can also search your subgroups, which you couldn't do before by typing hashtag and then the subgroup name. And you'll see here, like we're highlighting the distance subgroup in our results. This becomes really useful as you have years and years of workouts stored here and you want to find something you did 2 years ago for taper. And you're like, we want to repeat that. Like, what was that week like? Or what do we do there? And you just remember like one set. You can just type it in and find it. You can also now search by the coach who created the workout. So this is helpful too to quickly narrow down if you have a large team, like, oh, I'm just worried about like my group or the workouts that I wrote. Or if you're monitoring another coach's workouts or they have some questions, you can always search by that. Inside of a workout. The attendance feature now is much more advanced than it was before. So previously you could only see the training group that the workout was written for. Now you can show all groups. If I had this, there's swimmers here in other groups that you can mark as attending to this workout, like if they had to miss theirs, but could come to this one or vice versa. You can also search through swimmers just by typing in and like to find them. Again, this is really helpful for larger teams as we had clubs with 500, 800, 1,000 swimmers coming on to commit. We found this feature to be very useful for them. You can still do mark all absent, mark all present. You can mark swimmers as excused directly from this screen now. Before you had to go into the individual swimmer's profile to do this. And what this does is basically excludes that workout from their like attendance percentage tracking. Under the notes, we've enhanced this as well, where you can create notes that are not just visible to coaches, which is what it was before, but also just private notes to yourself as a coach, or visible to everyone, including the athletes. So if you need to put in technique videos or want to attach like a screen, a picture of a test set, like test set results that you wrote on the whiteboard or whatever you want to do and share it with your team, you can do that here. In addition to the training section, we've rolled out a number of new reports. We're really focused on this reporting section here. So this new training report view was new last week. It's just the theme is updated to match our general look and feel, but also we've added this ability to generate visual reports. So you can generate a report with graphs, tables, or both, and then pick which graphs you want to include in that. And as this report generates, I'll show you here what it looks like. So there's a summary page, and then as you go through, you have this visual demonstration of the data that was on your dashboard. Likewise, you can export the data to Excel or Google Sheets or whatever this CSV format is for any spreadsheet software. And it basically has everything that you're viewing on this screen. The performance reports, actually, this part isn't live yet, but this is what this will look like very soon within the next week or so. We've changed this to be date range based as opposed to selecting seasons. So now you can select any dates you want to view the course. Obviously, you can toggle through, and the gender. And then age group wise, however you have these defined in your team settings. We've also improved how we categorize swimmers, so it's more automatic. There's less manual work here, so this will work much better. And you can filter by training groups now. This is new. Previously, you could not. A lot of the options that we had before are still here under advanced options. You can include viewing this by top swimmers, which will have just one time per swimmer, or top times, which would include all the times for all the swimmers in a big list. You can change the number of results and just choose whether or not to show relay splits or not. Likewise, we have this generate report button, which also can translate this into a top times report for your team. You can then print this out, share it with parents, share it on the team board or whatever you want to do. You can quickly filter down to just your hundreds, just your free. And then this Excel report also is pretty neat. Open this up in a blank Google Sheet here. Show you what this looks like. This is also brand new. Previously, you could not export this performance tab at all. This is like your summary tab here, and then each event will have its own set of data so right now we were filtered down to freestyle. That's why there's only freeze here. Whatever filters you have on the report, like on your screen, when you go to export the report, that's the data that you'll get out. On the attendance side of things too, we enhanced this report. This view in particular is fairly similar to what it was before. You can filter by group and subgroup. We now have a workouts view. So instead of viewing it like by athlete, you can view it by workout and select your date range for a specific group and see like what your overall attendance for that time frame within that group was. If you click on a workout, it'll bring you in to that workout and you can adjust attendance. Like if you notice in this report something's wrong, you can just come in and make that change right here without really leaving the screen or leaving the context of commit. Likewise, we have these visual and data reports you can generate. This is the attendance view for like on a by workout basis. If you were to view it by swimmer, you can generate a report for any date range, any group that you want. And this is what that looks and feels like. We're going to be going through and making even more improvements to some of these reports and adding reports around individual meet to show time progression improvement, some time standard reports, some meet eligibility reports. So a big focus over the next couple months here. On the financial side of things, we also have a new view for the financial report, which includes a breakdown. The biggest change is that it includes each individual invoice line item in the report. So if we pull up this report for February, it not only includes it doesn't include one row for an invoice. It now has it broken down. If you had an invoice for a family that included 2 swimmers and there was 3 different meets and you invoiced for caps, each one of those items is now broken down and categorized properly. And you can search through this. Let's say you want to look at all your annual registrations, any word you use, or like if you just want to look at February 2nd, yes, there are no February 2nds, but you get the idea. It's not just, or amount. If you're like, I know there was a charge for like 500 something, I forget what it was. You can start typing that to find it. This invoice link will take you to the actual invoice on Stripe. Likewise, if you see something like weird here in the report, we want to make finding issues and solving them for your club as easy as possible. So then clicking on the swimmer will pull up their individual billing tab so that you can then dive in deeper and say, oh, it's because there's no card on file or looks like their payment failed or whatever it was. And because this report is slightly different than the previous one, we still have the old reporting button that you can click to email yourself the old report if you had like processes built off of it. And you can also export this new report. And there's a few tweaks in here that we want to change such that we can replicate this legacy report exactly, and we'll get rid of this button eventually. Let's see. When you click new report, you get to pick the date range for that, and it kind of stores the report there for you. Let's see, the other newer items are around payments. So we've updated this customer's view now such that the overdue or failed payment status is more accurate. So previously, it was just related to the last invoice that the family had, and if they paid it, they were marked as being current on their payments. Whereas if the second to last invoice they had was still overdue, this wouldn't show overdue, and now it does. So this will show if there's any failed or past due payments due for that family, it will stay like that until they're resolved or until you mark the invoices as void. Let's see. The other thing that I wanted to point out here was, oh, that you can you can filter by payment method and payment status. This invoices view will show all overdue and failed invoices for your entire club over the last however much date range that you pick. Any new invoice that pops up as overdue or past due will fall into this alert category, which you're alerted to on your dashboard as well. And then when you come here, you can mark it as reviewed or leave it there until you take action. But here you can see things like you can void this invoice, mark it as paid, like if they paid you with a check or cash, you can resend it or attempt to charge if they have a card on file. And then obviously the view invoice button will take you to the invoice itself. You can then export this report as well to do any more analysis that you need to on your end outside of commit. We do have plans to include an upcoming invoice view so that you can properly plan for cash flow in the coming months, and any open invoices as well to show a view that shows that for your entire club. Jason, am I missing any of the new feature rollouts, Cal, that you can think of that are worth sharing?
No, I mean, I think right now that covers a very high percentage of it. I mean, there's obviously a couple of things, as you mentioned, that we're in some of these areas and even some other things that in the coming months there'll be more things we're working on. Um, and I think, like we have the new button there, which just allows like for some quick access to things,
Yep.
based on your permissions and your settings and what you have access to. Um, and I apologize if I missed it, Dan. Did you touch on sort of the new program design?
No, I did not touch on that's a good call. Yeah, yeah, good call out. So underneath the payments, when you go to create your registrations, this also has a new look and feel in addition to some other options. So as you click in here, we tried to make this layout a little more user friendly so you could understand at a high level what was happening, what were the fees for each group. And as you create this, so say we want to edit this program, underneath fees, I think this is the most important change, is that now when you are creating like additional fees for your programs, say you wanted to charge a team gear fee is $100 per group. And if you had like 16 groups across here, so there's the silver and gold here, you can choose to add a new fee, say gear fee, right? Let's say it's $100 team gear. And then when you go to the gold group and you click add fee, you can just copy that fee over as opposed to having to enter the information again. And the same is true with payment options. So if you have the same payment options for multiple groups and just the price is different, you have an upfront option and a monthly option. You can just duplicate them and then go in and be like, oh, yeah, but this is actually 200, not 180, and update that. So that all your other options for how you invoice them, what your billing anchor date is, and all that stuff can stay the same without having to re-enter it each time. Let's see what else we got here. That's probably the biggest change right now. And there's going to be other changes to the registration flow as well. Most importantly, waitlist and caps to groups will be coming very soon. And then the other thing I wanted to show you that I forgot about was on an individual swimmer's profile, their reports are also updated. So if we go over to the billing screen, looks and feels brand new and kind of matches our newer design as well. The training and attendance tabs is the same, and you can generate as the new like team-wide reports, and you can generate reports here just like you did from the team basis, but this will just be for the swimmer. So if you're sitting down having a one-on-one meeting with a swimmer or the family, you can either pull up Commit Live and they can see this in their account if you give them access to it, or you can generate reports and print them out and kind of do it by hand. The performance tab will also be coming soon for swimmers. This is the old view, but there will be a new view that matches some of the data updates in the team-wide report. Yeah, so we're really excited because like we've been making a ton of progress on the product based on feedback. We finally have a ton of time to be able to address a lot of concerns, both from existing clubs and new clubs, feature requests, and we're moving very quickly and trying to get a lot of the highest request items out the door as we move through 2025. I guess at this point, we'll open it up to some Q&A, either about some of the new stuff, things that are coming in the pipeline, or questions, comments, anything on your mind at all about commit.
Yeah. So first question here we have is actually just going back into the performance report, of how you were able to not just export it, but also specifically for your process to upload it to the Google Sheets. Someone was saying that they couldn't necessarily see that export option. So can you just kind of go through that process of exporting that again?
Sure. So on the performance report particularly,
Yes.
okay. So the first thing to note is that this screen is not live in the app yet. It's the old performance report. This is coming soon, but it's not out the door yet. So you do not have this button in your account today. Starting hopefully by next week, at some point next week, there will be this generate report button, which you can export to Excel. I just don't have Excel on this computer, but if you open this file, it would just open up in Microsoft Excel. So the way I did it was I went into Google Sheets and I just created a brand new sheet. So say we had a blank spreadsheet, and then you can say, where's the import button? File import, and then you can upload the report you downloaded, and then click import data, and it'll toss it into Google Sheets, which is neat too, because then at that point you could share this report, um, with a link across your entire club as well.
Next questions, both are sort of a little more mobile based.
Mhm.
One, someone was wondering about general plan for the mobile app, what that's looking like, knowing that, with the process to go through and develop and make that available with a lot of the updates and features that we have right now is a bit of a process that like what's a general realistic time frame on that? What can people expect from the mobile app? Piece.
Yep.
We'll start on that, and then the next was someone asking about a general of how like it looks on the mobile interface. They might be specifically asking about the app as well, but equally sort of how this stuff formats on like a mobile browser.
Sure. So yeah, good questions. So currently, as most of you know, Commit does have an app. The app is based around the workout management side of things. We are so I don't want to set any definite timeline because there's the order of operations is still to be determined. But we're working on doing two things. One, making sure that the existing functionality we have within Commit is as mobile friendly as possible on the web browser. And then two, transferring most of that functionality, at least the things that are the most common operations for parents and coaches and administrators, to the mobile app. Once that mobile app is launched, it will look and feel like basically a brand new app. It will likely not have any remnants of the existing app, and it will be much closer to how this web interface operates. That said, so I expect both of those two things. We're already fairly close on the mobile friendliness of this um, web app. So, like for instance, if I show you what this looks like on a phone, right? This is the what the training view would look like on a phone. Um, you pull out your section here, and you can go into reports, and that's the training. That's the report view there. This is the performance view. So like it, it's already basically a mobile app inside of your browser. Um, and so as we build out these features, we want to get them as close to ready, mobile ready as we can before we make the mobile app. I expect the mobile app to be completely refreshed before the end of the year in 2025. That would be our expectation and what we're shooting for.
Great. Next question is specifically around meet registrations. For actually looking at it from more a parent's side.
Mhm.
Like if wonder if you could quickly kind of go over what it looks like for a parent to register for a meet. Um, and to that point, while you go through that here, we do on our support site, we have a whole support article that also walks through specifically what this looks like for parents as well. Um, and so you can always go to our support site. There's a whole parent guardian section, and there's a whole article about me registration for them. But you can also just briefly go over it here.
Yep. So right now I'm inside of a parent account, and looking at it from the mobile browser, this is what it feels like. This is the first thing they see on their dashboard. It's upcoming meets. We feel like invoices and upcoming meets are the two most important things that parents need to be aware of, and so that's why they're the first two things inside of their app. It's probably 90% of what they use Commit for as a parent. When they come to this screen, they would see all the meets that any of their swimmers are invited to, and then the list of their swimmers like underneath the meet, and their current status. So whether or not they're committed to the meet, which is this thumbs up, they've declined the meet, which would be a red thumbs down, or it would be in limbo, and it would have an option right here for them to commit or decline. If you give them permission to enter into events, they also would be able to do that from this screen. But if you do not, then they would be done as soon as they commit or decline. Inside of this screen that's specific to this meet for them, they can do a few different things. Just making this bigger so it's easier for you to see. They can, if you gave them the ability to commit by session, they could do that. And under messages, they can add notes. And this is also in the settings as you create a meet. You can specify whether or not parents have the ability to send you messages within a meet and whether or not they have the ability to register by session. And if those two options are on, then they can do this and they can send you a message like, oh, we're hoping to get that you can swim the 100 fly this meet, or we have to bounce. We committed to Saturday, but we have to leave at 11 a.m. So like, please don't enter them into any events that might run past that timeline. Things like that. You have the ability then to respond to this message on your end directly in a thread view for the parent, and they'll get an email notification, push notification, all the things that like, oh, there's a new meet message about the spring fling from your coach. Click here to reply.
Great. Next question is in regards to the financial reports. The question statement sort of is that in some of the cases, the fees that are being charged like directly to customers are coming through as uncategorized. Can you kind of just explain what the plan is for some of that in the next iterations of or phases here of the financial report of what the plan is so that they'll be able to either like select a category for it or things of that nature?
Yep. Yep. So right now there's, let's see, basically 4 different ways that someone can be charged money within Commit. The first is through a program. So it could be an upfront registration fee, an additional fee on the program, or a monthly like enrollment subscription. There's the one-off payments where you can create a fee that a lot of people will be charged, like USA registration fee or travel fee for XYZ meet or whatever it might be. So that's number 2. There's within a swimmer's profile, you can bill them. What was I thinking for? Whatever, not important. Maybe I was splitting the programs into 2. The other way to do it is to directly invoice them. So you can come in here and actually just create an invoice for the swimmer. In this way, when you do it this way, the categorization of this charge will say uncategorized. It is very much on our list in the next couple of rollouts of stuff to include a simple drop-down menu here where you can select which category this applies to. We're still to be determined if we're gonna like allow for the creation of custom categories or if we're gonna stick with our existing categories and allow you to select that. But for the most part, that you will be able to get rid of all the uncategorized things because this is what's causing the uncategorization, and this is the piece that we're going to improve.
Next question is if you could kind of just like look at some of the volunteer tracking, job sign up stuff for I get equally from a parent side.
Yep. So this is also an area that will be updated. It's not on the immediate roadmap, so like not within the next couple of months, but it is an area that we're aware of to do a full refresh on. You'll notice little changes here and there as we try to keep it up to date as we move through. So this is a new job event called the October Bash, and as I'm looking at it from the admin view. If I come in here, this is where you can set all the details. Like you can set the date, you can set the different sessions and the different jobs and how many credits a parent would get for a session. And then you can move over to the sign up list, which you can do by job or by session. And if you edit them, you can then add people to the snack bar. You can remove them from the snack bar. Um, that's your view as the admin. So you have full control over moving people around within the sessions and the jobs. As a parent, what they see here is there any upcoming events that have job volunteer hours assigned to them and the number of jobs that they have at the event. And if they click on it, they can see all the upcoming events or past events. And if they go to upcoming events and go to the event, they can unregister and register for other sessions. They're only allowed to register for one job within a session. So that's why like they can't register for swag on Saturday AM because they're already registered for tickets. But they could also sign up to get 5 credits for doing tickets as well in the afternoon. And then this would fill in the slot on the admin side as well.
Great. Last question that we have at the moment is kind of going back into the meets real fast. The question is that they recently posted an events file for their team for a meet that they're hosting in, and after several kids signed up, they found there was an error in the event file. Can you go over how they can edit either events or upload new events files without having to completely make a whole new meet?
Yep, absolutely. This is a fairly common thing. It's actually the reason we added this feature, I think late last year, probably at this point. So within the meet, this is what your view looks like. Inside of events, you can change any of these. So if there's a minor update from a meet event and you know like, oh, there's no time standards for this meet, but if there was and it was just the wrong time standard, you could double click and update it right there. Same thing with price, all these fields you can update, but I was just giving a good example of one that I'd recommend doing that with, or if like there was two event number ones and one of them had to be changed, you can change the event number. Obviously it gets a little bit, you want to make sure you know what changed to update the event file, because if you export your entries and submit them to the meet host and there's a mismatch with like the event number or the distance or whatever it is, the entries won't be accepted. So you do want to make sure you know what you're doing when you edit this. You can also just ask the host for the new event file and click replace event file. When you do this, basically what will happen is any events that match exactly in terms of the number, distance, stroke, age will maintain all the existing entries that you have. It will maintain all the existing commitments that your parents made. It will only remove entries if we don't know for sure that it was a match. So it's designed to be as user-friendly as possible while giving you the flexibility to replace the file. If you click this reset events button, this is a little bit different. So this will actually change the events back to the original file you uploaded, and it will wipe your entry. So this is a full reset. This is a button that should be used sparingly, but this replace event file is much more useful. Oh, and sorry, as you click, like say you needed to change this to event 2A or event 3 or whatever, you then click save. So we wanted to make this like hard to change because changing is a little bit dangerous. But if you do change it, you do have to click save in order for it to save. And likewise, you can just remove events too. Or you can discard changes for a specific row. If you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but I edited 5 other rows. So this is like a delicate screen and it's designed to be delicate. That's also why you have to double click in to edit, but you can do it.
Yeah, and on that point, like you were showing, you can delete events if you need to, which will
Yeah.
obviously clear it from like any of your athletes or members being able to register for those events, things like that. In terms of like changes to the events files, you can't add events. So like if there are like added events,
Correct.
you'll need to get the new file from the Meet host to
Yep.
upload that to include it. But you can remove things, which is the easiest way to pretty much to avoid anyone signing up for anything that you don't want. Or if you know the meet host has said like, oh, like delete that
Yeah.
event, recancel that event or something like that, then you can go and just easily delete it without having to go through the whole process.
Yep.
Right. And the current question, just because it's right now the only question we have, we'll go ahead and I'll ask it live here. And that way it's just clear for everyone else too. It was asking, is there a way to set up like recurring charges without it being a program? You know, example being like setting a recurring like private lesson or something like that for someone that's already on the roster. And I can handle that one, but it's just so that I don't have to type it out and we can just say it out loud too for everyone that it will the only way right now to do recurring billing, where it just like continues to bill month after month, will be through a program. None of the other options are set up in a way that it'll just like rebill consistently. And what a lot of clubs will tend to do for situations like that is create just very specific programs that are they will create the program, go in, add only the people they want in it on whatever kind of billing cycle that they would need. Dan's kind of going to walk through here just like a quick setup of what something like that could look like. And then you just get them into that, and you can then make it so that the program's not available for anyone else to like register for it, so you don't have like all of these people going into their accounts and clicking on things and whatnot. That will make it a little more um, private in that sense, and then you would be able to just add people as needed in that way. So no, to answer the question most directly, no, there is no way to do that without it being a program. But we find out a lot with this, the program stuff will work um, for most cases. And if there's ever anything that is like a very specific, scenario or case for any one club, I mean, you guys can always reach out to our support. We can work with you to find solutions or ways to address sort of what your needs are with the confines of what we are able to do within the platform as well.
Yeah, and two things to add to that. One, just to be extra clear, you can add one swimmer to as many programs as you want. So like just because they're on the roster already registered for something doesn't mean they can't be in the private lessons recurring billing plan as well. Um, they can be on 17 recurring billing plans. It doesn't matter. And then the second thing is you don't have to require your parents to do anything. So like if they're already a register for the team and you just want to enroll them in the private lessons, weekly private lessons, and it's $200 a month, you just click, like I just clicked there, that add swimmers button, and then you can filter by whatever you want. You can search for swimmers and you just add them to this list and then you just start their billing. Um, so it doesn't require like, oh, can you go in and click this button and do that? Like you just have full control on the back end. They can be in as many groups as you want, as many programs as you want. You can add them, you can stop them, you can pause them, all the stuff directly from this registrants screen within the program.
Great. Next question is kind of just since we're just talking about some of the meat stuff. Um, what's the connection with high tech or not, and how that kind of works coming into and out of the meets, and are you able to export the entries to a host? Like what that process looks like.
Yep. Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. So when you create a new meet, you have the option to add the events file right here from HiTech. This EV3 file or zip file that has the EV3 in it from the meet host is your events file. You don't have to do this step. You can move on. A lot of teams like set their meet calendar ahead of time, and then when they get the events file, they add it in later. That's also fine. So that connects on to HiTech from that end. Likewise, once you have a meet where you did registration and entries here, under registration, you just click download entry file. And this file right here is the SD3 file. That's what you need to send the meet host. Most meet hosts will know this file works in HiTech. Some will be like, we need a zip file because that's what they're used to getting from Team Unify. They do not need a zip file. This file works exactly like the Team Unify file does that they zip. It's just the zipped file from Team Unify is this SD3 zipped, compressed? That's all. And you can also create an entry report if you want to send this to the Meet host. Sometimes it's useful for them to validate as well. On this entry report, you can do a lot of different options up here. You can print it, all that fun stuff.
Great. Next question was wondering about any updates on how to manage lessons, and what the current kind of recommendation is right now to help someone manage it, until we have that more fully integrated.
Yep. So we are going to be, we mentioned the waitlist and cap situation, that'll be released in the next couple of months. That is coming very soon, which will help a lot with lessons. And we're going to do a couple tweaks to our program creation flow as well that will help with basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is there will not likely be a separate like section called lessons. We will just enhance our current program creation feature to have enough flexibility that you can run lessons programs with thousands of kids in it. Right now, if you do a lessons program with more than a few hundred swimmers, we usually recommend like going to Jackrabbit or some program that's specifically meant for that. But in the meantime, we do have a number of clubs that run their lessons programs through Commit successfully. You basically make up a new program and then you can separate it however you want. So if it's a relatively small lessons program, we recommend just one program, and then you can separate it into groups, either by, if you are doing lessons like by day of the week or by time slot, you make a group for each time slot. You can set up the start and end date. So say there's two groups. And then you would make a seasonal program that just has a start and end date. You can set registration dates and times for when the registration opens and closes for the lessons program. And as people come in, they'll register and you'll collect their money based on the fees that you set, and they will be in the system underneath that program and that specific group, which would likely be like the lesson time. It gets a little more complicated when you have multiple lesson levels and times. And so then at that point, we'd recommend making a program for each level. So you'd have like level 1 lessons, level 2 lessons, level 3 lessons as programs, and then time slots within those programs as the groups. So what we'll be doing basically is creating another level within the program where you can create like a two-tiered approach. Instead of having to make separate programs, you can actually just do it within one program called lessons. That will be another big change, including the waitlist and caps, which altogether will make the lessons creation process much simpler within Commit. There was something else I was going to mention about lessons. Oh, if you're concerned about the roster. So anyone who registers for a program gets put on your roster. And if you're like, well, I have like 300 lessons kids, 300 swimmers on my club team, I don't want 600 people on my roster when for the most part, I'm either dealing with one or the other. You can create a new team within your account and there's no additional fee inside of Commit. So you would click create new team and you can call it like the Lansdale Rays lessons program or whatever your lessons program is called. And then you create the programs in there. If you have any questions about that, you can contact us at support. We can help you get that set up to make sure that the Stripe account is connected to both teams and all that fun stuff. But it works really well to separate out the rosters. We have clubs that do it to separate their masters team from their club team, or like a club team that's also kind of a high school team, separate the rosters, lessons programs, diving teams, water polo teams. That's the best approach if you want like two different separate interfaces that don't really interact aside from the same billing and the same money flow.
Great. So I know we're at time here. We just have two other quick ones. I think will be real fast, and questions for anyone else. If you have other questions, definitely contact our support team. We can help answer anything you have. Regarding any of that, you can contact Cal as well if you're interested in signing up for stuff and you want to learn a little bit more. He's a great contact for that. For these last two questions, real fast, one was asking about within the programs, when you were showing sort of how to do some of those like private lessons and how you would add people and whatnot. can you just re-show real fast kind of how you would effectively turn off, hide the program from anyone else being able to like go in and just like register?
Yeah, so if we're doing this private lesson, let's unarchive this. You essentially what you do is once if you're doing it like all in the back end for yourself, you would just keep this in draft mode. Um, we call it draft mode or edit program, and never make it live. And so what that does is it allows you as the coach to be able to add swimmers and manage the billing within this program. But this, as it stands right now, this program is not visible to parents. It won't be on your website. No one can just go and sign up for it at all. And that's all you have to do. Just click the edit button. We're going to make that a lot more clear as well. That's on the roadmap. These are great questions. I love this because sometimes we get new ones and it helps us build new features. And sometimes it like validates like, oh, that's a great thing that's on the list that we want to do. So yeah, that's not, it's like a little trick you have to put in edit. So we're going to make that more clear, like private registration versus public registration. But right now, click the edit, it puts it into edit mode. No parents can sign up.
Great. And then last question is just real fast looking at for the meets again, how you would do like batch billing for that.
Sure. So once your meet is done, or whenever you choose to bill, you don't even have to wait till the meet's done if you're confident in the bill. So say you are like, yep, this is correct. These are all the swimmers. These are the fees. These are the events they're in. I checked my registration. I looked at my report. Everything's good to go. You just mass select, click generate drafts. And what this does is it goes through and generates draft invoices for everybody. There's two ways this can happen, and it's in your team-wide settings. You can select to roll up invoices or not. If you have rolled up invoices, what happens is all of these fees gets added to the swimmer's next invoice for the club. If, for instance, they're like not on a recurring billing plan for the club, they will just be billed the first of the next month for anything that was rolled up. It gets rolled up to itself, kind of thing.
Can you show where
If
that can you show where that looks like under the billing account? Like just like
Yeah,
click on Tanya's name.
sure. So yeah, right here you can see anything that is rolled up into this next invoice. And here you can preview the invoice. You can see the t-shirts fee, the spring fling swimmer surcharge, spring fling facility surcharge, and the silver group at 140 a month. And then processing fees, which are dependent upon the payment method that they use. And then the sibling discount for 10% off. And this is the fee that would be on the invoice. So you can, and then you can come in here and be like, oh no, this isn't right. Like you can view any swimmer's upcoming invoice this way. This is where the roll up invoices will show up. Or if you generate them this way and you're like, oh no, I meant to bill for that meet like right away. I didn't want to roll it up. One, you could adjust your team settings for the future to not do rolled up invoices. And then this meet billing screen instead would say drafts. And then you would say finalize and charge. And it would charge all the invoices immediately.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's a real on that point real
yeah.
fast, just so it's clear for people. When you go when it if you're not doing the roll up and you have it in the draft, you have two options of how you can bill them. You can finalize it and immediately charge the payment method on file, and it'll go through and charge everyone. If they don't have a payment method on file, it'll just default to send them an invoice. Or if there's obviously like any failed payments, it'll tell you there's the payment failed on whatever payment method they have. The other option is you can finalize the invoice and then send the invoice. So all your members, both in their commit accounts, but also in their emails, will receive the invoice that they can log in and pay, or they can pay through the invoice. It has a link. The one thing just to know about when the invoices are sent that way is that there's no like automatic trigger that happens at some point. What will happen is if like the invoice gets to its due date, because it usually gives them 5 to 7 days before the invoice will be considered past due when you send it this way if they don't pay for it. It does not automatically charge them when it gets to a past due. It will just be past due. Basically, if you're choosing to send them the invoice, they are
Never
expected.
being
They-
auto charged.
They're never going to be auto charged for that invoice. They're going to be expected to like go to that invoice, log into their account, and pay for it at a given point.
Yep. They will show up on your like past due invoice report that we showed you earlier when they become past due. And you can, from that screen, you can push through auto charges if you want to.
Yeah, like even looking at this screen right here from Mindy, you can see there's that 317 past due invoice down there. You, as an admin, if you have the permissions on it, you can always go in and push a charge through if it's if past due or failed or still open. But the idea behind sending them the invoice is you're asking them to pay kind of when they're able to. It won't automatically charge after the fact.
Yep. And if you accidentally roll up invoices, you can come here and say invoice pending items now, and it'll basically create an invoice for those pending items. And same thing, you always have the option when you're making an invoice, whether you want to request payment, which will do the whole send them an email. They have a link in that email where they can pay, or auto charge. And you're like, no, I didn't mean to roll this up. You just invoice it. Pending invoices to the Armstrong family. So now you can see the rolled up invoices are gone and the invoice history is updated with the new paid 4174. And then this also updated. So the new, like the preview of their upcoming invoice has changed and it removed all those rolled up items off of it.
Great. Yeah, and you'll see it even reflects there on the billing screen that her account under that billing for the meat, the billing tab for the meat showed that she had now is marked as paid because she paid for what was just pushed through. And then the rest of them are still rolled up to be charged next time. Well, great. I mean, that was it for the questions right now. Like I said, for anyone else, if you guys have other questions, if there's even anything we talked about here today that you want more info on, you can reach out to us. At our support team, we'll definitely get you any information that we can, and help that we can provide as needed. There will be a email sent out hopefully sometime later today to follow up from this that will include a recording of this webinar. So you guys can review it as needed, as if you want. It'll also be on our support page as well in the coming days. So if anyone has any need to review that, it'll be available there.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week and hopefully see you on commit.
Thanks, guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.